tuo fa l'americano, americano, americano. Senta a me chi t'ho fa. Tu vuoi vivere alla moda, ma se bevi whisky and soda, poi ti senti disturbato.
For 16 days, my wife and I traveled from London all the way down to Rome, visiting numerous cities such as London, Paris, Zurich, Switzerland, Lucerne, Switzerland, Florence, Italy, and Rome, Italy. And it was such a blast. This video is primarily going to be about Florence, Italy. We spent about 4 days there. If you haven't watched my previous videos on London, Paris, and Switzerland, I suggest you go back and watch those as well. Those were such a great time, and is now time to move on to Florence. I just got this DJI mic, so I'm hoping the audio is crisp and clean for you guys. So honestly, I have not really been looking forward to making the Florence video because it was our least favorite spot out of the entire trip.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
And I'm worried that's gonna make a couple people upset because everyone we know that has visited Florence, they absolutely loved it. It's like one of their favorite places they've ever been, and they just said it's so magical. So I feel like I'm possibly going to upset or offend a few people with this video, but I have to give my absolute honest opinion because when my wife and I were asking about other people's opinions, we would have appreciated their full 100% honest opinion before going so we know exactly what to expect.
How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion!
I'm sick of the influencer era where you're just showing all the magical glitz and glamour of travel and you don't really show the nitty-gritty parts, the parts people may not really enjoy and you don't really expect to see until you actually get there. I am not saying we absolutely hated Florence, but it is definitely not our favorite part of the trip. So please don't get offended that my wife and I didn't exactly love Florence because this was our experience. This wasn't yours or anyone else's. So I'm gonna be fully honest and I wouldn't lie about our experience there. Also, I'm not saying I'm not grateful that we didn't visit. I did enjoy getting to see certain things in Florence. So I'm happy we went, and I will go through the full day-by-day itinerary, and then I'm going to rate a few things at the end out of like a 10-star rating. So the train ride from Zurich, Switzerland to Florence, Italy was definitely the longest travel day that we had out of the whole trip. I think we had to ride, I think it was 4 hours to Milan and then 4 hours to Florence. So we had to stop in Milan and then go on to Florence. So in overall, it was about an 8 to 9 hour travel day. I could be remembering it wrong. It could have been 6 hours to Milan and then 2 hours to Florence. Either way, overall, the whole trip was about 8 hours. Thankfully, the train ride wasn't so bad. We got to sleep a little and just kind of relax. And that was pretty much the whole first day, was just getting to Florence. When we got to Florence, Italy, we went straight to our Airbnb. It was within walking distance from the train station. It wasn't too long of a walk. I think it was maybe a 15-minute walk. So nothing crazy. And once we got to our Airbnb, I will say we did actually really love our Airbnb. It was just massive and clean and beautiful and had an amazing view of the city. I will definitely talk much more about the Airbnb later on in the video. So really the first day was just getting into Florence and then checking into our Airbnb and then getting dinner and then going to bed. When we got to our Airbnb, it was a little difficult to find, but we finally were able to get in. It was kind of like a little apartment complex. You go in through this door upstairs, up in this tiny little elevator. That was a little sketchy, but it did work. And then we got through, there was like a lot of security for this apartment. It was like a door, an elevator, another locked door we had to get through, and then another locked door to actually get into the room. So it did feel very secure at this place. I will link the Airbnb down below if you guys are interested. We did really love this Airbnb. We were greeted by this very nice host who showed us around the entire room and showed us every little thing that they had in the room, and he was super nice. So we were super grateful to have him. Really great English as well. After we settled into our Airbnb, we found this little Italian restaurant that was within walking distance from our Airbnb. So we went and walked. I think it was like a 10-minute walk. I'm going to try to pronounce this right. It was a Pizzeria Ristorante Il Pinolo, and I'll put it down here for you guys to check out as well. And we actually really loved this place because it didn't feel touristy at all. It felt like a place that all of the locals went to and looked very promising, and it definitely was. It was a great first dinner in Italy. I got this prosciutto pizza, and my wife Caitlin, I think she just got like a margherita pizza or something like that. And we were also served bread with olive oil, and we got Moscato, I believe. And it was a really, really good dinner. And then we ended the dinner with some of their fresh made tiramisu, which was also super delicious as well. If you're looking for a place that's not touristy or anything like that in Florence, I definitely suggest trying this place out. It isn't exactly in the center of the city. It's kind of a little bit on the outskirts, but you could still walk from the center. It's just a bit of a walk. It's not super close. So after dinner, we were wiped from all the travel. So we just went straight back to our Airbnb and got some rest because we had a lot to do the next day. So the next day wasn't really off to a great start. We did have a reservation for the museum called the Galleria dell'Accademia. It's where they have the statue of David and everything like that. So we were pretty excited to go to this museum. I think our reservation was like at 9 or 9:30, but we didn't know you had to be there like on the dot of your reservation. We thought it was just like you can start coming at that time. So I think we were like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes late or something like that. And when we got there, we were really confused on where to go. But then we finally figured out from a worker that we missed our reservation time, so we have to go to this one spot that will get us a different reservation. But the place we had to go to change our reservation was like a solid like half-mile away from the museum. I don't know why they wouldn't just have that spot by the museum so people can just easily go and change their reservation time. But so yeah, this was kind of a pain. We had to get to that spot, and then when we got there, no one was there, and we had to find a number to call. And then a worker finally came, like probably like 30 minutes later, and he was able to get us new tickets. Then we had to walk back and get to our museum reservation. So I will say it was kind of our fault for being late to the reservation time, but we just didn't know that you when you have a reservation time, get there on your reservation time, if not a little sooner, so you don't miss your time slot. And we definitely didn't want to wait in the general admission line because it was wrapped around the corner and you could possibly be waiting there for 1 to 2 hours. But thankfully, we got it sorted out. We got into the museum and it was a pretty cool experience. The statues and the paintings in this place were absolutely mind-blowing, and you just don't really see stuff like this every day. But of course, the main event of this museum was the statue of David. The statue of David was created by Michelangelo between 1501 and 1504. It represents the biblical hero David who defeated Goliath with a single stone. Originally, it was made as part of a series for the Florence Cathedral, it was placed in the Piazza della Signoria in Florence. Later, due to the weathering and the condition of it, it was moved indoors to this Galleria dell'Accademia, and a replica was placed in the original location. So yeah, it was pretty insane to see one of Michelangelo's most popular statues up close. It is probably the one and only time I will admire a naked man. Of course, my wife and all the ladies there were all for it. Caitlin even had to grab David's at the gift shop, and it hangs on our fridge. So yeah, definitely a conversation starter if someone visits our apartment and they see a random hanging on our refrigerator. So yeah, we spent a little bit of time there. I don't even think we spent that long in there. It felt like maybe an hour or so. It's not a huge museum. I expected it to be a little bigger, but it was still pretty cool. I definitely suggest checking this museum out if you're visiting Florence. And if you see me looking down at my phone, it's because I'm using my camera roll as a reminder on everything that we did there. So after the museum, we of course had to try out some Italian gelato for the first time. We went to this place, I believe it's pronounced Carabe, and this was a pretty good first spot. I don't think we had any major plans right after that, so we kind of just explored the city for a little bit, admired some of the architecture, and we of course had to walk down and see the popular Duomo. The Duomo in Florence is a masterpiece of Italian Gothic architecture. The construction began on it over 700 years ago in the year of 1296, and it took almost 140 years to complete. It was dedicated to Santa Maria del Fiore, and I'm going to try to pronounce this right, but the dome was designed by Filippo Brunelleschi. It is wrapped with pink, green, and white marble and is just a marvelous sight to see. If you want, you can climb up the 463 steps to get to the top of the Duomo to see the entire city, but we really weren't in the mood for that. The stairwell is very tight and it does take a while to get up there, and it was a warm day, so I don't think we really were in the mood for that. We just kind of really just enjoyed actually seeing it and didn't feel the need to actually go to the top. But I have heard people say that have gone to the top. It is definitely a breathtaking view. I can insert a little clip here of what it looks like from another YouTuber. While walking around, we got this little chocolate espresso thing. I forgot what it was exactly. And we got a little pizza just to have a light bite because we were a little hungry, but weren't exactly needing a huge meal or anything like that. After that, we went to what some people consider their golden market, the street of Ponte Vecchio. And it is just a whole street of just jewelry store after jewelry store, and it is an abundance of beautiful, unique pieces of jewelry, from rings to necklaces to earrings to anything jewelry related that you can imagine. This is the place to go if you're looking for jewelry in Italy. And I got my wife this beautiful little ring, and it was just really fun to experience this part of Florence. After that, we just did a little more sightseeing, and then we went to this store that my wife really wanted to see. It is very popular, even people like Princess Diana have visited. It is a leather store called Scuola del Cuoio. It is right behind this beautiful chapel, and then when you go inside, you're just invited by just numerous pieces of beautiful, unique pieces of leather, from handbags to wallets and anything leather related you can think of, they have at this place. If you're looking for something, if you're looking for a solid leather item, which is very popular in Florence, you definitely should check this place out. After that, we wanted to get some drinks before dinner, so we went to this bar. I believe it was called Dragonfly. If it's not, I'll just put it down here below. And I think we got some Long Island, or I got a Long Island iced tea and Kaylin got a limoncello, and they were both amazing. And then it was off to dinner. So this dinner was a slam dunk as well. It is called Osteria Antica Casa Torre, and it was absolutely delicious. I got a Florentine steak and Caitlin got carbonara pasta, and both of them were super delicious. The steak was fresh and moist and just probably close to one of the best steaks that I have had. And then Caitlin's carbonara was very delicious as well. We loved this dinner, so I suggest this restaurant as well. On our way back to our Airbnb for the night, we stopped at this gelato place. I believe it's pronounced Amarino, and this gelato was super good as well. The next morning, I walked down to this close by little bakery. Can't remember the name, so I'll put it here if I remember, but we just got a couple pastries and some coffees to start off the day. I got this delicious chocolate croissant, and Caitlin, I believe, got this, I think it was like a lemon croissant or something like that. Honestly, this day we were pretty wiped out from the entire trip in general, and I think we kind of relaxed for most of the morning and early afternoon, just enjoying the view of the city from our balcony and enjoying our breakfast, stuff like that, and then finally decided to get ready and go down into the city. Our Airbnb was kind of close to the center of the city, but it wasn't actually in the center, so if you actually kind of wanted to do stuff in the city, I believe we had to walk maybe at least 15 to 20 minutes to get to everything. So not insanely far, but not exactly like super close. You did have to walk a bit. And that was the only downfall of our Airbnb. Our first stop was this little window that you go to. I believe it's pronounced Osteria Belladone. I am so sorry if I butcher some of these words, just a little difficult to say, but we went to this window that you can order a bunch of different wines, and it is very popular across TikTok and other social media, stuff like that. So when we saw it, or when we were in Florence, we definitely wanted to try this out. We both got limoncello spritzes, and honestly, this drink became our favorite drink out of the entire trip. The limoncello spritz. It's like an Aperol spritz, but it's way more sweet and of course has the limoncello flavor. I've heard a lot of people say they've tried an Aperol spritz and don't actually like it because it's really bitter. So if you want something more sweet, I definitely suggest you go with the limoncello spritz, and some places actually make them really strong as well, so you'd be solid with like one or two of these drinks. We didn't have too much planned this day, so we kind of just explored the city a little bit more, and we also wanted to have a late lunch at this other super popular place. A lot of people know about this place. It's called Atlantico Veneo. They have a lot of different locations in Europe, but also I believe they're in New York and some other places in the US. So we definitely wanted to try this place out. When we got there, line is pretty long, but I will say it was super worth the wait. I don't think we waited super long, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, and we didn't really have much to do that day, so it wasn't a bother waiting that long, but we got our sandwiches. This place has been crafting delicious sandwiches since 1991. They bring out massive things of fresh Tuscan bread and super high quality meats and cheeses. When you get inside, you're greeted with all the workers standing at the counter, working away, making these sandwiches for you, and they freshly slice the bread. They put whatever meats that you want, whatever cheeses, even things like fig jam and other sort of toppings. I can't fully remember what two sandwiches that we got, but they both were delicious. The one I got was my favorite. And if you need a good lunch in Florence, Italy, you should check this place out. I think they're in Rome too, other parts of Italy. I can't exactly remember. Later on, we went to this gelato place called Venci. I think this place was a little bit touristy, but it looked good, so we decided to try it out. We got some chocolates that they make and sell there as well, and we got our gelato, and we did enjoy this gelato too, so there haven't really been any super bad experiences with the gelato. While we ate our gelato, we enjoyed the sights of the Baptistry of St. John, the Opera di Santa Maria del Fiore, and of course, the Duomo once again. Later on in the day, we wanted a drink before dinner, so we went to this place called, the menus just said PZK, so I'm not fully sure what the name of this place was. On the glasses of wine, it says Pazkowski's, so I believe that's what the place was called. And we got a limoncello spritz again. You will notice a theme that is mostly what we ordered for drinks in Italy, because we just knew almost at every place it was gonna be a banger. And we were kind of wiped after that, so for dinner that night, we actually went back to the place that we ate the first night, just got it for takeout and ate it up in our Airbnb and got clean and went to bed. And the next day, I believe, was our last day in Florence. We actually almost didn't know this, but our Airbnb was fairly close to this popular perfume shop they have called Santa Maria Novella. Actually, the full name, I'll try to pronounce, it's Officina Profumo Farmaceutica de Santa Maria Novella. Definitely a mouthful. And it is also popular as being one of the world's oldest pharmacies. So this place is definitely a piece of history. When we got there, they sell some of the most elegant pieces of perfume, colognes, things to bathe with, such as soaps and other things like that. And they had a cool art display with these big screens you could walk through, and it was just super cool to see. And it was also just really beautifully decorated. So we are actually happy that we stumbled upon this place on our last day in Florence. After that, we walked around, saw the Piazza Santa Maria Novella, and then we got some more gelato at a place called Little Messer Gelato. It was definitely refreshing on a hot day. We did a little more sightseeing, and then we went to get drinks before dinner. And I actually didn't catch the name of this place, so I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to provide that. If I do, I'll put it down below. But we just got some drinks here, and we actually got a little appetizer as well of some little meatballs, I think some little quesadilla bites with French fries, and it was a nice little starter. I'm pretty sure I got a limoncello spritz, but I am not sure of the drink that Caitlin got, and I can ask her and put it down below. And this place was actually kind of fun to chill because they did have some board games and stuff. So while we were waiting, we played a game of Uno and just got to chill in a nice little booth before dinner. And dinner the last night in Florence was honestly, to me, one of the main events in Florence. We were so excited to try this place out. It definitely is a super popular spot that you have to get to early or somehow make reservations, because it is one of the most popular spots in Florence. It is called Osteria Postella, and they are very well known for their fettuccine that they serve or they make on a cheese wheel, or I should rephrase that. They bring out a giant cheese wheel that they melt the top with fire, and then they place the fettuccine on the cheese wheel, spin it around, get the cheese all in the fettuccine, and then they serve it to you that way. It is definitely a fun show. That isn't the only thing they serve. They also have steak as well. We did get steak too, with some mashed potatoes that were absolutely delicious. And for the fettuccine, they even shaved some truffle on the top of the fettuccine. They even brought out some little limoncello shots that I didn't even ask for. They just brought it to us. And I believe we got some Moscato wine as well. We ended the dinner with a trio of gelato, and I believe the other dessert was this kind of eclair kind of dessert with some cream in the middle, and both of these were very good. So this place was definitely one of our favorite dinners in Italy, and I definitely suggest going to this place. It is some of the best fettuccine that I have ever had, and the steak was absolutely delicious too. It's also just fun getting to see them cook the fettuccine on the cheese wheel. It definitely isn't something that I have experienced before here in the US. So I say that is our last day in Florence because it actually wasn't supposed to. We were going to have another full day in Florence the next day, but honestly, we were kind of done after a few days. We feel like we saw everything we wanted to see, and we felt like we kind of would have been wasting our time with another full day in Florence, kind of just seeing the same thing. So what we did was we asked our Airbnb host if they would refund our last night there, and they gracefully did. And then we changed our train booking to happen a day sooner to Rome. And then we called up our Rome hotel, asked if we can do a day sooner in our Rome hotel, and they said, yes, you can. So we booked there, and thankfully we were able to get to Rome a day sooner. So that was our day-by-day itinerary, and now I'm going to rate a few things, such as the transportation, the food, the shopping, the things to see, the hospitality, and the weather. So the transportation, definitely the most difficult thing we experienced out of all the cities that we visited. London was easy, Paris was kind of easy, Switzerland was pretty easy as well. When we got to Florence, we were struggling. It was confusing how to get bus tickets. We honestly did not really want to ride their subway. It is a little gross, a little sketchy, a little dirty, and we kind of just didn't really want to go down there. Thankfully, a lot of the stuff in Florence is within walking distance, so you kind of can walk everywhere. And of course, most people know this, but you will do a lot of walking in Italy. So it's good that you can kind of walk to everything almost. But if you ever do want to use public transportation, I suggest doing a little research before you go, because it can be a little difficult to navigate how to use the buses, the subways, and things like that. And again, I'm sorry if I upset some people, but these ratings are based solely off of my experience and not anybody else's. I would rate the transportation a 4 out of 10. I'm going to rate the food, and this is an easy one. I would give the food an absolute 10 out of 10. We loved every dinner that we had, and I don't think there was anything there that we ate that we hated. We loved everything from the popular sandwiches to the fettuccine to the Florentine steaks to the gelato. Everything was on point, fresh, delicious. Also, crazy cheap. We were paying so little for our dinners, like $40 for like a steak, a pasta, drinks, a dessert, like $40 or around that price, also depending on where you go. But I don't think we spent over like $60 for a full-blown dinner. And for that, the price and the absolute deliciousness of the food, I would have to give a 10 out of 10. And honestly, was my favorite part about going to Florence was the food. The shopping, I would give a 10 out of 10 in Florence as well. There are so many things to shop for, such as jewelry, such as souvenirs, very nice leather goods, and also luxury brands. There is a lot of that as well if you're that kind of shopper. So if you love shopping, you will love Florence because there is a lot to shop for there. The things to see, I would give an 8.5 out of 10. Everything we saw was absolutely super amazing and is just crazy. The history behind it and how they've been able to keep it up, and just the skilled craftsmanship of some of these statues, buildings, architecture, things like that. I would give it a 10 out of 10, but I feel like there weren't enough things to see in Florence compared to places like Rome, where I feel like Rome had definitely a lot more to see than Florence. I wish I could have spent a little more time in Rome than I did Florence. So for that, I feel like an 8.5 is a fair rating for the things to see. The hospitality, I would give a 10 out of 10. We absolutely loved our Airbnb. The host was super nice. We are super thankful that they gave us the refund on that last night, and very last minute too. So I'm even shocked that we were able to get the refund. And so just super nice hosts, super amazing Airbnb, super clean, amazing view of the city. This was one of our favorite spots to stay in Europe, and I believe the bed was also super comfortable as well. We were also astonished at the size of our room. Like, I could honestly live here. Like, the nice sized bedroom with the closet, and then coming out to the living room, to a dining room, to a kitchen with so many things you can use if you felt like cooking there, to a super nice bathroom with shower and everything you need. Also, washer and dryer, they had that as well. So we were able to clean some stuff, which is very important when you're on a 2-week Europe trip and only have carry-on luggage. The weather in Florence, we went in it. So when we got to Florence, it was kind of getting around mid-September. So we were kind of shocked at how warm it was still. It definitely wasn't like 100 degrees like it can get in the summer, which honestly, I don't know how you people do these summer trips to Italy. It looks glamorous on Instagram, but just think about walking for 8 hours a day in the blazing 100-degree sun. I don't know how you guys do it. And most places in Italy aren't air conditioned, so you aren't even getting a break when you go inside. So I myself personally will absolutely never visit Italy in the summer unless I'm going to literally chill on a resort and be in the pool or ocean all day, like in Sicily or something like that. That's the only case, but even then, I'd probably still be like, nah, I don't think I want to go. I absolutely hate the heat and walking and sweating and things like that, so I would just personally never visit in the summer. Even September was warm. It was, I think it got up to 90 degrees, which doesn't sound like insanely hot, but when you're walking under the sun all day long, it definitely gets hot. And it was probably, Florence and Rome were definitely the hottest cities out of our Europe trip, of course, because everything else was north of that, and those kind of stayed cooler. So we got pretty warm in Florence and pretty like gross and sweaty. So I would, if I went again, I would do early October at the earliest, and then possibly to maybe April. Anything May to September, I don't think so. I don't think I'd ever do it. So having the heat in mid-September, we didn't love it. I would give the weather a 6 out of 10. Thankfully, we weren't blessed with any crazy rain or anything like that though, so I will give them that. So let me just cap this video off with a few things. Like I said, I'm happy we went. I'm happy we got to experience it, see some cool buildings and statues, and eat some amazing food. I definitely don't regret visiting Florence. What I do wish we did was I wish we spent less time in Florence. We were planning while we were in Florence going to either Cinque Terre or Venice, taking a train or something like that, but they were a little farther than we thought, and we were wiped out from all of the travel we were doing, so we really weren't in the mood to get on another train again and do a whole day trip and stuff like that. So I feel like if we were able to do that, it would have been a little better, but we just decided not to. So if you do plan on visiting just Florence, myself, honestly felt like you could do it in a day or two. I would maybe suggest 2 days because it really wasn't as big as we thought. You've got the center of Florence where they put most of the stuff, the museums, the Duomo, and other cool architecture and shopping, things like that. And on the outskirts of Florence, when you walk maybe 10 minutes outside the center of Florence, it really didn't feel like there was much. And honestly, the further you walked from the center, it did kind of start to feel a little dirty, grimy, not kept up very well, and felt a little unsafe at times. So if you want a great experience in Florence, I would highly suggest trying to finding a place to stay in the center of Florence so you can get to things by walking super easily and you can just experience everything from walking distance. Because like I said, the public transportation wasn't super easy to figure out. Again, I am sorry if this offends some people because I know there are absolute fans of Florence out there. Even our travel guide was like, you are going to absolutely love Florence. It is so magical there. We liked it. We didn't absolutely love it. But like I said, I'm grateful we went. I'm grateful we got to experience, and now we know. And I'm not trying to veer you guys away from visiting it either. I do think if people want to visit, they definitely should. But I do not feel like it has to be anything more than 3 days. Again, don't base your decisions off of what I'm saying because this is personally mine and my wife's experience there and nobody else's. And like I've said, there are lots of people that did absolutely love Florence. And we were honestly kind of shocked because we thought that Italy was going to be like our favorite part of the trip, and it actually wasn't. I think that's okay. There are people that love New York. There are people that hate New York. There are people that love Los Angeles. There are people that hate Los Angeles. It is all a preference. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely comment down below if you have any questions or if you have any things that I missed that you feel like pointing out. And overall, just let me know what you thought about the video. Also, like this video and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of this content. Like I said, I've got the London, Paris, and Switzerland vlog up right now for you to watch. And after this, I will post my last Europe vlog, which will be Rome. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm not sure if this will go up before or after Christmas, but Merry Christmas to you guys and Happy New Year. Have a good one.